You're listening to the Pink Tax Podcast, where being a woman costs more and we've got the receipts. From overpriced razors to underpaid roles, we're talking money, power, and the price of showing up. Let's get into it. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Pink Tax Podcast. I'm your host, Janine Rogan. I've been a financial educator for 14 years, and this week I wanted to talk about money goals. I found some old goals of mine. Sometimes I think it's so interesting looking back at things. So there used to be this thing called Day Zero. It was pretty popular. I don't actually know if it's still going on, but I was living in Edmonton at the time. It was 101 things in 1,001 days. And so I found this list, and it was to be completed between September 11th, 2013 and June 8th, 2016. And I guess at some point I just stopped updating it and forgot about it. And so I marked them all up, but it's really kind of interesting going back and looking at these. So I wanted to talk through some of those, some of my 2025 goals, and then some of my 2026 goals. So it's interesting, at some point in my career, I stopped writing on my blog. So I found an old blog too. It was more of a personal blog. And it kind of inspired me. I feel like we've come full circle. Blogging used to be a huge thing, and it's not really that much anymore, except for I feel like Substack is blowing up. So I have started a Substack. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I'll have posted on it, but I will include it in the links below. But come give me a follow over there, because I feel like I want to do more writing in 2026 of not just money things, but life things. And as I'm finishing up my master's, I do really enjoy writing about economic topics. So there'll be some of that and just some life stuff as well. So come see me there, because that's going to be part of 2026. But okay, so Day Zero. All right. So I'm not going to read through all of these because some of them are very silly. And yeah. Number one was read the 25 best books about money. And I looked at the list and I was like, well, I read none of those. But I feel like I don't actually read a lot of personal finance books because I do know a lot of it. And yeah, I don't obviously if it's someone I care about and is a friend, I will read their book. I will buy their book. But other than that, I'm kind of I'm sure they're great. So I didn't do that one. The other one was really around getting my CPA designation. And I did do that in that time period. So I stopped updating this, I think, after the first two modules. So that would have been, when did I start? It started in 2014. So I stopped updating this kind of midway through in 2015. So I think I was just heads down, working a million hours a week, trying to get my designation, got engaged, was getting married, all of the things. So I did all that, which, yay! I've been a CPA for 8 years now. Seems like a long time. So that was a positive. Climb Mount Kilimanjaro, did not do that. Don't really want to do that anymore. I don't know. I think that was more of something my husband wanted to do. I don't know if he still wants to do that, but we haven't talked about it in a while, so maybe we need to do that. Have a 6-figure net worth was on here, and I am very proud to say we did that. And we have a multiple 6-figure net worth, which is fantastic. I had on here maxing out my RSP for 2015. I have no idea if I did that. I guess I could go back and look. I don't know if I did that. I had matching at that job. So maybe, who knows? I don't know if I care, but that's a good goal to have. Although I would argue TFSA is usually a better place to invest your money, unless you have employer matching. Saved $10,000 for my wedding. So we definitely did that, and we got married. We've been married for 10 years now. And yeah, that was expensive. If I was going back, I don't know if I'd do the same wedding. I'd probably just run away to Italy or something and get married there, and whoever can come can come. Host a fundraiser. So I don't know if I've done this specifically. I'm giving myself a check mark on this because the conference that I host every year, Wealthy Her, which tickets are on sale April 15th, 2026 here in Calgary. They are 45% off right now. with the code HER45. So definitely check that out. I'll post a link in the description below. But we donate proceeds to a local charity every year. So I kind of think that is one. Also, like during the pandemic, and I really want to bring this back because it gets me choked up every time I see moms posting in like YYC Facebook groups around Mamas for Mamas and just like not having enough around Christmas time. And so I've done like crowdsourcing for these moms and pulled together like, I don't know, 1,500 per mom for a couple of different moms. And it's always nice to be able to be like, here's $1,500. I hope this helps you this holiday season. I was like, maybe I was the original. No, I wasn't the original, but like the MD motivator on TikTok. I'm always like sobbing watching those ones, but I kind of feel like on a small scale, I did that in a couple of different ways. So I'm giving myself a check mark. I do love a check mark. Take a trip to the East Coast. So little did I know that I would be going to Newfoundland for an audit. So checkmark did that. Didn't really get to see a lot because I was auditing all day long. Visit 2 new Canadian cities. I feel like in my time in the tech space, I was in Regina. I feel like I went to a few like random places in BC. Definitely some like rural towns in Quebec. So definitely giving myself a check mark there. Really want to get out to see one of my dear friends in Halifax next year. So I think I've like flown in and out of Halifax, but haven't really spent any time there. So that's kind of on my list for 2026. Establish a 6-month emergency fund. Didn't do that. I think we had one at one point. It's over the years, it's ebbed and flowed. So maybe that should be on the list for 2026. Getting that emergency fund back up there. It's slowly getting there. We contribute every month. Also moving. There were a lot of unplanned expenses that needed to be addressed. Start my CFP designation. Did not do that. Will not be doing that. Don't want my CFP designation. Ended up going back and getting my master's in economics. So economic sustainability specifically, which I think maybe will be more valuable in the long run. I still am not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that, but it'll be something. Earn $50,000 in income. So I obviously made this as like a new grad because I thought $50,000 is a lot of money. I definitely did that. So check mark for me. Donate $1,000 to charity. So definitely have done that. And I am happy about that. So check mark there. Volunteer 100 hours of my time. Check mark. I sit on a number of boards and have for the entirety of my CPA time. So I've definitely given over 100 hours there. Save $7,000 for a car. So we've definitely done that and purchased, I think, probably 2 vehicles in the time since this was created. So check mark there. Save $10,000 for a down payment and $25,000 for a down payment. So we definitely did that. We bought in the time since I've made this, we've bought 2 properties. So the first was our townhouse. We sold that this summer and we moved into our duplex where we live now. And hopefully we will stay here for a very long time because moving is expensive and I never want to do that again. Visit 6 new countries. I don't know when I did this list, but I've definitely since 2013 visited more than 6 countries. I've been to Europe, oh my God, 5 times. Since then, we've done a ton of travel over Christmas, 2 new countries, Costa Rica, Turks and Caicos, which I think is actually a British overseas territory. But yes, definitely done that. And kind of similar with that, visit 15 new cities. So that is also a check mark. Save $2,000 for a puppy. So we never ended up getting a puppy, but we did get a very, very gentle dog. Oh my gosh, I was pregnant. So 2020. So we've had him for about 5 years and he is an angel puppy. His name is Laser. And sometimes he comes into the podcast to see kind of what's going on. Attend a TED event. So this one really kind of got me a little bit worked up because I haven't been to a TED event, but I did speak at a TEDx event during the pandemic. So I'm giving myself a check mark there because I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I was like 6 months postpartum and I think it was 6 months. Yeah. And my sister came over to watch my son and my husband and I went to the TEDx recording. It was a weird time because there was not a huge audience. Everyone was like social distance and in masks, but I did that and I'm proud of that. I will link it if you haven't watched it. Maxed out my TFSA in 2014. So I definitely did that, I think, because I've contributed, well, the past couple of years, not as much because I've been building this business and haven't invested as much, but it's on the list for 2026 is to get back to those TFSA contributions in a meaningful way. Earn $250 in passive investment income and earn $500 in passive investment income. Check and check. This year, we earned over $5,000 in investment income, in passive income on just my portfolio. So love that for me. We're well on our way to getting to a point in retirement where our passive income is just paying us dividends and we can use those dividends to pay for our life. Let's see. Lots of money related goals. I'm not reading everything. Some of them are like run 10K. Well, I'm not doing that. And I probably never will do that because I really don't like running. Save $10,000 for my RSP. Check mark. Did that. Some of these are interesting. Invest in gold. I'm sure I've invested in gold at some point in an ETF. Maybe I'll do more in 2026. I don't know. See Taylor Swift in concert. Done, and done. I've seen her 3 times. Love that woman. A lot around actually Rosetta Stone, learning French, and that's something I definitely want to focus in 2026. My son will hopefully be going to a French immersion school. I took French through university, love Paris, wish I spoke it more fluently. I can get by in Paris, but my French is nowhere near where I want it to be. So that is going to be a 2026 goal. This one was interesting. Do a 30-day no spend challenge. I think I have done this in the past, so I'm giving myself a check mark, but I probably should do it again in 2026. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but definitely need to do that. Sit on a board. So I've sat on Green Calgary, the CPA Alberta Education Foundation, the Further Education Society of Alberta. I think that's it. Are those all the boards I'm on? I've been on a lot of committees too, but I think that this one is so important for everyone. And I can go on a mini rant about women on boards because you don't wake up one day and say like, I want to be on the board of Coca-Cola. You kind of have to work your way up. So sitting on a not-for-profit or a community board and then kind of moving up the ranks in terms of size of board, as well as moving not-for-profit to private, I think is also really impactful and meaningful. So if you're listening to this or watching this, you should join a board in 2026 because you have something absolutely to give in terms of your knowledge, expertise. I would say, especially if you're an accountant or a lawyer, absolutely, they're always looking for these people. But even if you're not in those fields, they will definitely look for really good people. I think some of these are so funny. Learn how to make chocolate souffle. I definitely have done that because I've made chocolate souffle and it's delicious. So I'm giving myself a check mark there. But it's funny that I put it on this list. I don't know. Some of these are, it's so funny to look back at what you were thinking at the time and what was important for you. Crochet slippers, did not do that. Yeah. I had Chantal from Knititude on this podcast. And maybe I need to knit slippers. I don't know. Or socks or something. But I do like knitting. And I'm not sure about crocheting. I don't really remember how to do it. What else? I think that's kind of it for things that I thought were important to bring up. There's like take a painting class, which I have done. Try 50 new wines. I feel like I've done that. So I'm also giving myself a check mark there. But it is really important to kind of look back at where you came from. It's so funny looking back at myself from, my God, these are things in 2013 that I was, thinking were important. Some of them absolutely set the foundation for my financial journey and my ability to build wealth. And some of them, I'm like, what were you thinking? These are not things that you should put on a goal list. But 2013, Janine was a different person. So at the beginning of 2025, my friend and I sat down and made some goals. I made a lot of goals. I probably overdid it on the goals. Let's go through some of them. Okay. Play tennis 50 times, which I definitely did. I met a really great friend through the tennis community that in the summer we were playing like 3 times a week. And I just saw her this week and I really love the game. I'm not great at it. But I think it's a really good way to focus for an hour. And so I will definitely be doing more tennis in 2026. I really want to go on a tennis like camp. So I got to see if I can find one. One of my goals, which is really personal, was to get off of my anxiety medication. So I'd been on it since 2017, and I don't think I've ever said this out loud, so be gentle. But I am a very anxious person, and it has taken me a long time to kind of work through some of that, and was on an SSRI for a long time, which also I didn't realize that you're not supposed to be on those forever. Nobody ever told me that. But one of my goals was, if it felt good, to see if I could get off of it in 2025. And I did. And there are definitely days where I can tell I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious again. But overall, I would say like my level of anxiety is so much lower than it was in 2017. And I'm so, so grateful for that. So really happy with that being completed. Asleep by 11 p.m. So this is not always the case, and I won't give myself a check mark on every single day, but overall, I would say I'm in bed, usually asleep by 11 now, which I think is really important because sleep is number one and has been number one in our household. But I'm someone who can be like, let's just watch one more episode, and then it's like 12:30, and I'm like, we have to be up at 7. Okay, and kind of in the friends and family category, birthday celebrations, which I did. I planned a big birthday party. Love, thank you to everyone that came. A family trip. We, as a family, went to Nashville. We're headed to St. Lucia this year, and we went to Palm Springs. Print photos for the house. That was the old house. Did not do that because we moved. So that can go on the list for 2026, is get all the photos printed and up. Go on a girls trip and visit my dear friend Michaela, who, if you were at the conference last year, she talked about credit card points hacking. So check there. I went to Menorca and Lisbon to visit her, which was amazing. I didn't have a lot of finance goals because, I don't know, entrepreneurship is wild. But my main goal was increase our net worth, which we did. Yay, the stock market. Because without that, I don't know if we would have. We pulled money out of our TFSAs this year. We bought a house. Yeah. So happy we did that. Bring back Paint by Number. I do that every winter. So I'm happy I did that. Kind of in the fun and recreation category. I did different categories. So I had health and fitness, family and friends, finance, fun and recreation, business and career, relationship and romance, personal development, and spirituality. So kind of 8 different categories. One thing I didn't do, which I need to find time for in 2026, is a solo trip. That was kind of in my fun category. Man, I had a lot of business ones. One of them was to hit 100K in revenue this year, which I did. And I'm so proud of myself for that. There was a moment in time where I wasn't sure this year if that was going to happen. And I know that there's people that, make a lot more, but I think I'm still early in the entrepreneurship game. I had some like social media metrics that I did not hit. 10,000 on Instagram. So maybe I will roll that forward to 2026. I have Speakers Spotlight as my bureau, which did not happen in 2026. I did meet some people from Speakers Spotlight, but it is still a goal of mine. So if you're listening to this and you work at Speakers Spotlight, hit me up. What else? Oh, okay. This is an interesting one that I think I want to roll forward. And I have to kind of figure out what I want my business to look like in 2026, because I do have a few different offerings. And I really want to start tracking, and I just didn't do this year. So I have no idea if we hit this, but I want to start tracking how much assets my students have invested in a way that is impactful and meaningful and low fees. And I would like that number to be $1 million. So I need to start doing that in 2026. What else? Oh, get a book agent. I need to do that. Haven't even started thinking about that. So there is a document on my computer that says book 2, and it's just like a bunch of links to things. So I probably need to start working on that once my master's is done. I'm going to skip relationship and romance, not because anything is wrong there, but there's a couple of things I can't share yet because I don't want the other person in this relationship to find out about them yet, because it's a surprise. So hopefully he doesn't hear this. Hopefully he's not listening to this episode. Or maybe I'll have done it before this episode airs. Anyways, I can't share yet, but it's nothing crazy. It's all positive. It's good. But yeah, I think I have to skip that category. Personal development, knit a sweater. Sorry, Chantel, I didn't do that. But now I have your book, and I will knit a sweater this year because I really want to do it. I don't know. I think it would be cool. So if you haven't checked out Chantel's book, which I did interview her earlier in this season, you can knit your first sweater with me. Read 15 books. I don't think I did that. I think I was probably a bit lower than that, but we'll see. I still have time. And get distinction in 3 of my classes in my master's. So I do 3 classes a year. We're waiting for our marks for the 3rd one, so we'll see. But I did get distinction in my other 2 classes. So the Australian system is very different. And spirituality, I had meditate 52 times. I didn't do that. And finish my journal. Also didn't do that. So I have some work to do in that category. I like breaking it up into categories because I think it's interesting in terms of focusing and making sure you're not over focusing in one category. And that's something I work with in my small group masterminds as well, which I wanted to announce. Well, I'm sure I'll have announced it on Instagram, but I'm doing my mini money mastermind again in January. I got to figure out the kickoff dates. It'll probably be back once I'm back from travel over Christmas, but you should definitely, I'll put a link below if you're interested in like a 5-day challenge. We'll write some money goals. We'll do some stuff together. Let's do that together. I think it will be really fun. And I'm also starting the next cohort of Your Richest Life in February. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link to the waitlist as well. So other goals, I haven't sat down and done this for every category, but I wanted to talk about some other money goals for 2026. So I have written down here, which some of these kind of terrify me. For my business, I want to give myself a 20% raise in pay, which I'm not paying myself a crazy amount right now. So 20% feels like a lot, but I think I can do it. And it might not happen right away. Summer is always a really hard time for my business just because it's not that busy in summer. So I got to strategize, but figure out how to pay myself 20% more. 150K in revenue. So I did just over 100 this year. So we have some work to do. And that number kind of makes me want to throw up, but oh well. If your goals aren't big enough, or if your goals don't scare you, they aren't big enough. And I want to have a profitable conference. Wealthy Her is coming into its 3rd year. The first year we lost money, and the 2nd year we broke even. So this year I want it to be profitable, and I'm hoping we can do that. For my investments, I want to contribute $15,000 to my investments this year. Again, not quite sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll see. So, yeah. And that is on top of, I want to make sure we max out the $2,500 in RESP contributions for my son. Oh, good. I did rebuild my emergency fund. It was decimated in 2025. So we should do that. Passive income of $7,500. So my dividend portfolio returned about just over, actually, I should probably calculate that number. It's over $5,000 this year. So I'm hoping to grow it to $7,500. And the biggest goal, which by my projections will hit in 2026, is have a 7-figure net worth, which is kind of wild to look back at 2013 and say, like, one of my goals was to have a 6-figure net worth. And now in 2025, what is that, 12 years later, have a 7-figure net worth. And I think it just goes to show that, like, if you're new into the financial space, or if you're just getting started, or it feels hard, it takes a while to do these things. It doesn't happen overnight. And 13 or 12 years ago, having a 7-figure net worth probably felt impossible and so far away. And then it's like, I'm in 2025 and that's my goal for my next year. And that's crazy. And I don't know, it's just, I'm feeling very reflective this year. It's just like, wow, we've come so far. And I think 2013 Janine would be so proud of all of the things that I've done. And I don't think we take enough time to celebrate those things. So know that the seeds you're laying now will flourish in 10 years or 15 years or 12 years or whatever it is. And I'm so excited to see in the next 10 years kind of what I'm able to accomplish, because I'm turning 35 next year. So I feel like this is a big year for me. And it's like, okay, I have 5 more years until I'm 40 and then 10 more years until I'm 45. What can I get done in those next 10 years? So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. So those are my money goals for 2026. I don't know if I'm crazy or what, but putting them out there is also scary because I feel like now I have to do them. But in closing this episode, I wanted to say thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the episode. Thank you for your feedback this year. There's more to come in 2026. Running a podcast is tiring. All of it is exhausting when you're doing it at 11:30 at night sometimes. And yes, I know I need to go to bed by 11, but sometimes I'm editing until 11:30. But I wanted to kind of share some other money goals. If you're sitting here thinking, what kind of money goals do I want to have in 2026? One of the things I really took on in 2025 with a vengeance, and I didn't have it as a goal, but was reducing our fixed expenses. I was on a tear, canceling subscriptions, negotiating phone bills, and all of the things to lower our monthly fixed expenses. Because I think that when recession is looming, which, let's be honest, it's trying economic times right now, having lower fixed expenses is a way we can de-stress, right? If we know we don't need $5,000 every month, we only need $4,000, that becomes a little bit, again, less stressful. Should work, I don't know, not go the way we were hoping, or we have to change jobs, or we have a big expense, whatever. Maxing out your TFSA contribution room, either lifetime or that $7,000, or your first time home savings account. So the TFSA is $7,000 in 2026, and the first time home savings, if you haven't opened, is $8,000. So I think those could be really good goals. Saving for a trip, set up a sinking fund, paying off debt. I would argue, though, make sure that it's high interest debt first. Don't pay off your mortgage. Invest the money. Mortgage rates are still so low. I mean, do whatever you want with your money, but I would not be making it a goal to pay off my mortgage really, but that's just me. And then I think funding your emergency fund is also a really good one. Hitting a certain net worth, I think, can also be good, but it's a kind of a funny goal because you're at the whim of the market. I say we'll hit 7 figures in 2026, but if the market crashes, maybe not. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think those are some really good money goals. I like the idea of doing a no spend, tracking your expenses. While it can be tedious, I think it's very insightful to see where you're spending your money and seeing if it aligns with your values. Starting to investing your first 1,000, investing your first 10,000, investing your first 100,000. Those are all, investing your first million. All of those are the hardest firsts, right? The first 1,000, the first 10,000, the first 100,000. Those are the hardest. And so once you've done that, I think the next 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 is just that much easier because you have your money working for you as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I kind of had just so much nostalgia looking back at 2013 Janine and all the things she was hoping for. And so many of them came true, and some of them didn't. And some of them aren't important anymore. And some of them I thought would be important and definitely weren't. And some of them became more important. Because in 2013, I don't think I would have ever thought that I'd be where I am now. I think at that point in time, I thought I was going to be a partner at an accounting firm, which obviously did not happen, and nor did I want it to happen. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I can't believe 2026 is right around the corner. I want to hear from you. What are your goals? Tag me in Instagram or send me an email. Tell me what your 2026 money goals are, or join the mini money mastermind. We usually run it for 5 to 7 days. It's a low investment. I think it's usually around $100, and we run it in Telegram. I give you so many resources, follow-up emails. Yeah, it's just a fun way to connect. And one of the things that I'll also include is I tend to get very reflective this time of year. And I found kind of 2 things. One is new to me this year. It's the life score assessment. So I'll post that in the description below. But I think a really great way to kind of see what areas of your life are maybe lacking in terms of tender loving care. Because I think sometimes, again, I know for me, I focus on money and career and business, and some of the other things fall to the wayside. But I think having a well-rounded life is really important when it comes to happiness. And then the year compass. I've been doing that for a number of years. It's a really good exercise. It takes a while, so sit down over the Christmas holidays and do it. But I'll be printing out my copy and bringing it with me to St. Lucia. So that's all for me for this week's episode of The Pink Tax. Thank you again for joining, and I'll see you in 2026. And that's a wrap on this week's episode of The Pink Tax. Thank you for joining me on the front lines of financial fairness. Remember, understanding the cost of being a woman is just the start. Now it's time to demand your worth and build your wealth. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a step in dismantling systemic inequality and securing your financial future. If this episode sparked a fire in you, take a screenshot, tag us on social media, and share it with a friend who needs to join the movement. Until next time, keep your wallet guarded, your eyes open, and let's keep fighting for a world where pink is just a color, not a tax bracket.